Welcome, everybody, to another special episode of She Said, We Said podcast. Today it's just me, Candy. As you can see, my host, Kat, is not with us today. She is somewhere living her best life. And so we're just going to do this special episode with me. You guys might remember Joe. He was on our episodes when we first started. We introduced him. Did we introduce you as a co-host back then? I
Yeah,
think we was.
yeah.
I think we introduced him as a co-host, and we kind of mentioned that you guys would be seeing him in and out our episodes throughout the series. So we're bringing him back. It's December. It's the end of the year. We're closing out 2023. And so I'm going to start with Joe. There was some video that didn't get aired with Joe. Some very interesting, important information when we first started that we didn't get a chance to air. So we're going to revisit that today.
Okay, that's fine.
Are you okay with that?
I'm good with it.
Okay, so first, we're gonna start with you. I want you to introduce yourself again for the people who are just catching this clip for the first time, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Joe McCoy. Of course, I'm from Richmond. Known this sister for quite a long time. Work for the city of Richmond. I do violence prevention work.
Violence prevention work. So, but you do a lot of work with the kids, right?
Yeah, a lot of work with the community.
So without going into a whole lot of detail, just tell them what that is, because what you do is actually important, and that's how we started our conversation last time, because it kind of tied into how you were able to relate to the work that you do because of the type of upbringing and childhood that you had.
Right. So the easiest way to put it is I'm a violence prevention specialist. Right. I work with at-risk youth. I work with the 15% or 10% of the youngsters in Richmond that are supposed to be keeping up all the foolishness.
Keeping up all the foolishness.
Right.
So what do you mean? The robbing, the stealing, the
Right.
killing,
Yeah. So
everything.
the youngsters that we work with are either the most likely to be shot or the most likely to do the shooting.
Okay. And how has that been for you personally? How have you been able to adapt to that in a
It
sense?
it has its ups and downs because the thing about it is you want more for a young person than they want for themselves, and sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of difficult because you be like, man, just follow this road, I mean, this blueprint, and you gonna make it. But a lot of them they don't see that vision because they don't see that every day.
But where's the blueprint? You telling them to follow the blueprint. Where's the blueprint?
See, the thing about it is we help them create their own blueprint. See,
Okay.
each blueprint is handmade to the person.
Okay.
See, so what we do is we do these things called life maps, right? And the life map is their long term, their short term goals, right? Then we also put a spin on it, like trying to dig deep into what they want to be or who they want to be in life. And most of them, they come out and say who and what they want to do. The issue is just implementing it.
Okay. I've heard I've heard some young people say like they just happy to make it to C21, or they just
That
happy to
was
make it to C20. I don't see them thinking about anything beyond that. So when you get with these gentlemen, is there girls involved or is it just
there are
men?
now. There are now.
So it used to not be.
Used to this.
It used to be. When did the girls get involved?
Within the last 6 months.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
How has that been with the transition?
It's a little different. We because we got a grant and we brought on a lot of new staff, so it's a lot of different transitions going on.
Okay.
For just in staffing is different, and working with females is 100% different because you got to watch what you say, watch what you do. It's 100% different.
Okay. So not to dig too deep into your personal
You can
livelihood,
go
but
as deep as you want to.
where does I want them to know where your experience, your life experience, how that plays into your current role that you have with these young at risk youth.
So for those that know me, I grew up in North Richmond. I grew up at a time when the drug trade was heavy. Um, I adapted to the drug trade quick. With drugs came guns. So in 1991 or 92, I think when Richmond had the highest murder rate, I think that it was really two crews pushing the murder rate the highest, and one of them was the cats that I associate with.
Okay.
Um, and so I got caught up in the fast life quick because I couldn't see past just like them. I couldn't see past 21 or 22. But then when I made it, I started thinking, oh, you know what? I'm gonna sell dope all my life. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be a drug dealer because I had a narrow focus of me and didn't understand who I was. So that's where it started at.
So let's go back a little bit further than that, because in order for you to get to a point, a young guy, let's just say 11, 12 years old, whenever the age around the age young boys start looking at that or start selling dope, your family life, like how do you get to, because everybody don't take that path, right? So how
Right.
do you get to wanting to sell drugs? Like, what is your family like? Because in my personal opinion, I feel like a lot of these young men, now that they're women, right? But a lot of these young men and women are just missing some things at home before they even get to that step of wanting to
Right.
sell dope, prostitute, whatever it is they got going on. Before they even get to that point, what's the home like? Like,
So honestly, my home was so I'm a product of a married man. My mother, may she rest in peace, was a side chick.
okay.
So my mother raised
How
10.
do you feel about that? We gonna keep going, but as a man, knowing your mama was a side chick, how does that just make you feel? Did that ever have an effect on how you related to women?
I think it did play a part in how I
Okay.
dated. I think watching my father was played a part in how I dated. Watching my mom and sisters played a part in how I dated, and also my first mentor played a large part in how I dated.
Okay. So you were the product of a marriage. Your mom was a side chick. Keep
Yeah, so
going.
my father, he stayed in the same house I live in now. He stayed in Central, probably, if you know, that's what, a mile away from the house. But I only saw him on the weekends. He parented from a distance, and he couldn't parent that much because he was married. I'm the youngest boy of 10 kids. I have one younger sister. Then between us, I hope my sisters and brothers watch but don't watch. We split. We have five that were on drugs and five that wasn't.
Mm. So you said you're the youngest of 10. Now, is that
Youngest
com-
boy. I have one younger sister
the youngest boy
from my
of
mother.
10?
Hmm.
So your mother had
Ten
11,
kids
your mother had 10 kids out the womb.
out the womb.
Ooh. And your daddy had how many?
He had two by my mom and three others
Just two. Okay. So your mom had 10 kids, only
by three
two,
different men
three different men. Okay. And you were towards the baby on both of those. So that means she had two other relationships
at
before
the
you even
least.
came. Well, we keeping it.
Let's keep it
No,
real. At the
no,
least.
at the least, I get it. So she had at least two. We'll just stick with the two dads of
Right.
the kids.
Right.
At least two relationships before you came along. So in your household, again, before you got out into the streets, like, was she dating? Did you have a stepfather in the house at the time, or at that time was it just her being a single mom trying to raise y'all when you started to
Now,
look into the
now
streets?
she did an awesome job in raising us and try to keep us. Like for example, I couldn't ride my bike on the curb till I was about 10 years old.
Okay.
So she definitely was a mom.
Okay.
But now her dating life wasn't always the best.
Okay.
I saw my father was coming around on the weekends. I probably did see other people dating my mom back then. So, she kind of was out there.
Okay.
She wasn't. I don't think that she wasn't how I look at women now. But
Did you ever get a chance to talk to her to know what her upbringing was like? I mean, 10 kids. Well, how old was she when she had your oldest sibling?
13
She was 13.
came from the south. My mother came from the south. She came from Marshall, Texas.
Okay.
Then moved to Little Rock, no, El Dorado, Arkansas.
Okay. So she was a 13-year-old girl
Hmm.
having her first baby for the first time.
Right.
Ended up with 10.
Hmm.
So how old was you? How old was she when you came along?
33.
So she
And
was
at
30.
that time, that was like a late, back then, people that had kids that late.
Did they not?
No, man. My mom because most of my partners' moms was way younger. Well, most of my partners' moms are still here. So that just goes to show the difference in age.
Well, she started young
Yeah,
too, though.
she did.
But I mean, it's important to just kind of.
Started young and finished late.
I don't. 33 is not. I guess in
It
that
ain't
time.
now, but back then, that was late.
Well, I guess. Well, maybe it was. I don't know. I don't know what the age period. I don't know what age period we talking about, because having a baby at 13 is way too early. Still, I don't know. Regardless of what generation we in, 13 is just young. But then you figure by the time she was 17, she probably had about three or four. Let's
Yeah,
just
probably
average,
so. Like
right?
two
And
or
then
three at the
20,
least, yeah.
25, she probably had about, yeah. So at the time that you were getting ready to live your life, she was kind of single. She was dating here and there, but for the most part, great mom. Took care of your siblings very well. You were one of the youngest. And what is it that you saw? What you think you were just even though you had a great mom, she did what she needed to do to take care of y'all. Were you just a product of your environment? Because it doesn't seem like she had drugs in the house. She
She
wasn't
didn't.
around
She
no
didn't,
pimps or nothing
and
like
she
that.
didn't enable none of us.
So where
I
did you
think
get it
that
from?
I think it was a product of the environment. So,
Okay.
fast forward, but we're gonna go back again. So when I was about 13 or 14, me and my partner said that we want to try to get a job. The closest little job to us was McDonald's. So we went. No, we were 14. We went to McDonald's with an application, typed the application, and they looked at our addresses and said no.
Not your age, but your application.
Damn, wasn't the age, it was the address.
Okay.
So we got back to the hood. We got our summer jobs. Our first summer job check, we sold dope with it.
Where did you end up getting a job at?
So back then, the county would give you these summer jobs for people that didn't have any money, because most of us didn't have any money growing up. So we had these summer jobs. I think we was making like $3.50 an hour. But the check came by the time they gave it to us. I think it was probably like $200, $300. So me and me and two of my partners, we put that check together and we started hustling.
So before we get into the fact that somebody fronted y'all the money.
No,
Yeah,
no,
nobody fronted y'all no money.
no, not then. No, listen, we
Six
took
hundred
the summer
dollars.
job checks
Right, which is about
out $600.
$600.
Yeah, we
That was
went to
enough.
somebody. That was a good start
Wow.
because see, there was so many dope fiends back then, people that were on drugs, drug addicts, that every corner ended up being a dope track. So it was people who was trying to hide, so they wouldn't go to the main dope track. They would come to us.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we had a smaller product, they would rather come to us because they were trying to keep their business out the street.
So there are so many
It's
problems
different
and
avenues.
issues
It's different
with
avenues.
that whole thing, because if y'all 13 and 14, who even encouraged y'all? You know what I mean? Like, who gave y'all the dope? Who was just like, hey, young blood, yeah, y'all. I mean, nobody said, y'all niggas get out of here. Y'all need to be doing this. You need to go to school. You need to do this. Somebody just said, oh, $600?
You had people doing
Hit the
both.
bat.
You had people that was looking up for us, like, man, our mentor, Brock, man, may he rest in peace. We wasn't scared of the police. We were scared of Brock. So if Brock was coming around the corner, that's when we ran. We wasn't running when the police showed up. We sitting there like normal because we knew that they wasn't going to bother us. They was going to get the hot dudes. So when Brock hit the corners, when we broke running.
Wow. So was Brock the neighborhood watch out guy for y'all?
No,
I mean, he knew
Brock,
what was going on. Was he the peacekeeper, the peacemaker?
At that time, when we grew up, Brock was, in our opinion, our father. Even if we had fathers at the home, we probably looked up more to Brock than we looked up to our own dads.
Okay.
And Brock was the first person. He used to have his job for North Richmond Neighborhood House, so we had a youth group way back then. And Brock would he taught us how to be men as much as possible. But he taught us from his perspective. So Brock was a professional gambler and an ex-pimp.
Okay.
So we learned certain things, how to talk to women, how to finesse women, how to dress when we grew up, things like that.
And that was your mentor.
That was
I
our
thought
mentor.
you was gonna say something totally different.
That was our mentor.
You ran when he came. I thought that was because he was gonna beat y'all down.
He taught y'all
how to.
No, but listen, drug dealing wasn't him. That wasn't him. So he didn't want us to have that life.
But he was okay with y'all having a different kind of life.
Like we're talking to women and stuff. Yeah.
Talking to women the way he talked to women.
Yeah.
The way he talked to women.
That was okay.
Okay. So.
I'm not saying it was all right, but that was okay.
So was y'all struggling? You mentioned, a lot of people didn't have a lot of money and things like that. Was y'all struggling in your house? Was it one of those things where you hear young men say like they felt like they needed to be the man of the house and just, step up, and you see your mama struggling, and was it one of those things, or was it really just you saw the block and that you just wanted to be a part of it?
I think it was a little of both. I think it was a little of both, and again, everybody struggled that grew up with me was different. For me, I did see my mother struggling and going through a few things, and I had older brothers and sisters that I felt could have helped some. Okay. But they was dealing with their own struggles. I know that now, but didn't know it then. So I felt that I had to step up and do something. And at that time, the only thing that I could see was selling jewelry.
So when you said your father used to come around on weekends, did he engage with you? Like what type of relationship did you have with your father
So
coming
up
around on
until
weekends?
14, I had a I had a decent relationship with
Up
my
until
father.
14, which is around the time you
13,
started.
no, I'm sorry, whatever, what age is Hams? Like junior high,
Oh,
12,
12,
13.
13. Yeah,
So that's where it messed up at. So, you want me to go into that?
I do.
Okay. So I was at Hams, and I was walking through little hallways, and some female walked up on me, and she was like, "Is Perry Williams your father?" I'm like, "Yeah, right." She said, "That's my daddy too," and just walked off. I'm like, "Wow." So I go home and I tell my mama, I'm like, "Mama, I met my sister today." She's like, "What?" I mean, me being young, she was like, "What you mean you met your sister?" This girl walked up to me. She said, "My daddy's her daddy." And she asked me what the girl looked like, so I told her, right? And she was like, "Baby, she picking up whatever the word was back then. Like she bothering you. She's being
Lying.
messy."
Okay.
She said, "If she say something else to you," and my mama had a strict policy about do not hit a female.
Okay.
Strict policy. Don't you ever put your hands on a woman. My mama said, "If she say something else to you, beat her ass." I said, "Green light? Something must be wrong here, right?" So I was playing youth baseball then. You had little batting gloves. But the next day,
Don't
my
tell
mama
me.
gave me the
Don't tell
green
me.
light, man.
Don't tell me you hit the girl. You
My
hit
mama
her?
gave me the green
Oh.
light, man. Like I said, I'm not proud about things I did when I was younger, but hey,
Dude.
I'm being honest with you. We being open, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm looking through the girl, I'm walking through the hallways, don't see her, don't see her. So about third, fourth period, I see her at her locker. I tapped her on the shoulder. I'm like, "What did you say yesterday?"
Your mama didn't say. She said if she
Hey,
said something else to
hey,
you, then you hit her. She
hey,
didn't say
man,
go look
listen.
for her
My
and
mama
hit her.
gave me, in my opinion, that was
Oh my
green
god.
light. That was the green light,
Oh my god. So you
right?
hit her.
So I said, "What did you say?" She said, and she hit that little head back from back in the day. I dink, right? But listen, she wasn't no little pushover. I wanted to fight, but she was fighting back.
What she
So,
was supposed to do? We was all taught
hey,
that.
but and so we went to the office, and this is when I really found out what was going on. So we went to the office, and our parents was called. So my mom came with one of my older sisters. Her mom came with, I guess, the girl's older brother, which was younger than my older sister. So I'm in here going crazy because I used to be a little hyper kid. Only person could I didn't do it in front of my mom. So I'm in here pushing stuff over. I'm in the counsel's office. Mr. Blayla, I remember that perfect. So my mom walk in, I immediately get that little church boy attitude back. I'm cool, right? So my mom sit down there. My mom was a small sister. Lady came in towering over my mother. Big boned. And so she just started cussing and stuff in the office, right? And she talking about my mom and my daddy's relationship with each other. What it is I took this B's man. So I'm like, dang, so now I'm listening. My mama say, "Listen," she said something disrespectful about me, and my mom was like, "Listen, I don't care what you say about me. You gonna fix the problem, but don't disrespect my son."
Mm,
So they talking kind of calm for a second. Then she was like, "And this little illegitimate motherfucker here."
how about you?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
That's all my mama could take.
She took her down.
Went down.
Touched every room and every
So
wall in the
she in there.
office.
So she in there fighting. Me and the girl fighting. I look out the door. My sister getting on dude. Right. So come to find out, this lady been dating my mom because my father's wife had just passed about a couple of months ago, and I guess they started dating. Right. And my mom hadn't been dating 'cause I hadn't even been seeing him lately, but I just didn't realize why I hadn't. So we went all into the parking lot. We still fighting in the parking lot. By this time, my partners was getting out of school. They started jumping off the
What was
little
the
ham
police?
special.
Nobody called the cops?
Back then, that wasn't no cop fight. You gotta think
Out of
about it.
school, you got
Man,
parents fighting, you got the
this
kids
is like
fighting.
'82, man. Didn't
What?
nobody do that back then. You
I
get it
didn't know
up
you.
back then. This ain't no.
But you out
This,
of school.
man,
It's different when you
we in
out of school. How
consumers
you
because
in
it
a?
was consumers and
Oh,
Mervyn's was across the street from Hams. And
oh
we in
my
that parking
gosh.
lot getting it up. And all my little partners went over there. We was the first baby kids because we was whooping tail.
Oh my gosh.
But this went on for a long time, man. I remember the lady shot at me one time.
Ooh.
So my mother was like, that's enough, man. So and they was always, To
Beefing.
my knowledge, they was always beefing, and to my knowledge, the lady always started it. It's always two sides to a story, but
So
from what
was
I
the
saw,
daughter, was she a real sister or was she your
no,
stepsister? She
no,
was
she
like
wasn't nothing. She was just somebody my daddy was dating her mama.
her, okay, okay, okay.
All right. So the lady shot at me. So my mom went to court, tried to get a restraining order against me. This is my probably first year at Richmond High.
So you about, what, 15 now?
Not about
Still
14.
14, okay, 14.
First she
Right.
shot at me. So my daddy walked in with her on her side.
Mm.
So then me and him ain't cool at all now. So you go against my mother. At that time, it was over for us. I had to go to counseling behind that shit, everything.
Did the counseling help you at all?
Okay, because I got to fast forward to another story if you want to go.
So we'll fast forward and then we'll go back. We'll fast forward to the other story, but then
Okay.
we go back because we definitely got to revisit that part.
Okay, so because I was told black people don't go to counseling, so I didn't understand it. So I'm just sitting there playing with blocks and shit. I'm too old to play with blocks. That's what I felt.
So you was just in there just to do the sessions.
Yeah, that was it.
But don't they ask you questions in counseling too? Did you answer
They
the
kept
questions?
asking, yes, but you also told when you young and you from hoods that you don't share your family business.
We told not to, that what happens in the house should
Stay in the house. So whatever we got going on, that's us.
Mm.
So a lady asked me questions, I'm avoiding the questions.
Mm. That's a whole nother story and topic. We probably touched on that before. We definitely need to go back and unpack. I should have had a couple drinks. I wasn't prepared. I know we had some conversations and we talked about it, but it's so important. And this is one of the reasons why I always like having you here, because for one, your transparency is just amazing. It's so appreciated. But, I feel like for those who will see this eventually, you will definitely do a lot of help to a lot of people, right? Sometimes we so ashamed to talk about the things that happened to us in the past that we had no control over. The dynamics between your parents, that had nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? You didn't have no control over that. Your dad or our parents kind of made some bad decisions and we just had to live with the consequences. But I can only imagine how that might have felt, where you having a good relationship with your father, he dating this woman, being a man or however people want to call it. She shot at you, could have killed you,
right?
And this nigga walk in. Let me not call him a nigga.
No, call him what you want to call him.
No. But this man walk in with the woman that almost could have. Did he even speak to you? And regardless of if he was going
to be honest, I can't
mama,
remember because at the time I probably couldn't even have heard it if not, because I was blowed.
So you was mad. You remember how you felt in that moment?
I remember that, man. I remember I was like, boy, I don't never want nothing else to do with this dude. Never.
And how did that go from that day? When was the next time you saw him?
So.
Is we gonna fast forward to the next?
We're gonna fast forward. Then we have to go back to the drug dealing.
Okay. Hopefully they'll be able to keep up, because we'll do the part 1 and we'll do the part 2.
So
pay attention.
As I started to be who I was in the streets, right, I tried to make amends with my father. Right, so I'm gonna say I'm 17, 18. I tried to make amends with my father. So we got back cool. So the day of the earthquake, 89.
October,
big earthquake, right?
October 89.
My partner Terry, and we had 2 Oakland girls in the car with us. I think I had a box Chev then or something. Well, I forgot. I'm from Michigan. I had a mob car. It wasn't box Chev, that's Oakland. So I had a mob car, and Terry in the car with me. We got the 2 chicks, and ain't no lights. So I pull up at my daddy's house. Now this is not the first time we ever switched cars, right? Okay. So I'm like, hey, daddy, let's switch cars, because, ain't no lights on, everybody know the car, I don't want to get killed, da-da-da,
Wait. You lost me for a minute. Y'all switching cars, y'all got chicks in the car, you switching cars, and you said...
Everybody know my car.
But you said it ain't no lights on. What did you mean by that?
The lights and street lights, everything was out during the earthquake. So I knew that it was about to get dark.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't want to be riding around in no areas in this car.
Oh, okay. Wow. Oh.
So and it's not the first time we switched cars, so it wasn't no big thing.
Okay.
I didn't notice the lady in the doorway, right? Mm-hmm. So for some reason, I don't know if I caught him on a bad day or what, he started going off on me. Mm-hmm. Fuck you, don't be pulling your ass up over here every time you pull up, da-da-da-da-da-da. So I'm like, that's sad. And I just start walking back towards the car, and I'm mad in the motherfucker, right? So as I get in the car, the girl that was with my partner Terry said, "Is that his real daddy?" I couldn't take it. I grabbed a pistol under the seat. I went to kill him. True story. I went towards him. Terry jump out the car. He wrestling with me, um, and the gun go off. Terry get the gun away from me. I thought I shot Terry, so I started crying. I cried for 3 days.
Mm.
Then I realized later in life that I didn't cry because of what I did. I cried because I didn't finish. I was that upset with dude.
You cried because you didn't kill him.
Right.
That's pretty deep, Joe.
Right. See, man, I told you, I got a very, I go to counseling and mentorship now because of a lot of demons that I had to unpack to really become who I am.
I think that's very important and very,
Right.
and to be applauded and commended, because I know that is hard. Just like you just said, we were raised not to talk about nothing. You know, you dealt with it. Everything got swept under the rug, and the secrets was kept, and all kind of other stuff. So to kind of have an opportunity to do that, but then actually take that opportunity is a big step. But I mean, the fact that you wanted to kill your daddy, what kind of, in my mind, I'm just thinking like, you know, the type of how I would feel to make me want to kill him. And even like you said, you cried for 3 days and then you realize it was the fact that you didn't kill him. Like that's some deep rooted, deep seated feelings to have for somebody.
I
So do
didn't
you
look at him as my father
after that
because he
point?
did, man, it was already rocky
Right. So you think it was just like a combination of
of everything
everything
that built up.
over those years.
Over the years, him taking me around multiple women that he was dating when I was a kid, even though he was still dealing with my mama. It was just a lot of stuff going on for me.
So that was before 14.
Yeah.
He would come get you. So would he come get you on the weekend sometimes?
Sometimes he would back, before the ham situation. He would take me around other women that he was dating. So
How did that make you feel?
so you got to look at this. The
'Cause
first person that I felt, you know, my father. Well, how do I want to say this? So I live in a household that my mom is seeing multiple women. I mean, multiple men. I'm sorry. That my dad is dating multiple women. So my first understanding about relationship is everybody cheat. So you deal with this accordingly as you grow up and you start dating.
So you were a monogamous cheater? That ain't even a word.
Yeah, how you gonna tell me?
I want to say, well, because monogamy
cheater?
is like,
Yeah.
one-on-one person, but I
Yeah,
put the cheater on it, meaning like every person you met, you cheated on them with. I wanted to make that into something, but you get the point.
Yeah, I don't think that, until I got old, I don't think I had a monogamous relationship.
Or a monogamous mindset, pretty much. Not even.
No, that wasn't even in my forte. That wasn't even in my caliber of thinking. Not even as I, even when I tried to be square and when I tried to stop hustling, when I was hanging out with some of my square partners, your family, we ain't gonna say their name, but when we all got a place together, even them, and they wasn't into selling dope and stuff. They were square, and they ended up, hey, they dated heck of women too. We had our little go to Great America, catch all the chicks we can. We got a house now. We bringing them back,
That's
Go
crazy.
to all the little events, Black Family Day, all this stuff, and we just had women.
So your lifestyle was just, as you previously stated, money,
Right.
cars.
Right. So when I talk to young people today, first thing I do is I apologize to them. And when I apologize, I tell them that the reason I'm apologizing because my sicknesses help create who you were. And they be like, "What you mean?" I said that I start off and I say I'm a recovering addict. So when you tell somebody you're a recovering addict, they think first thing, oh, you was on dope at some point, right? And I said, no, I ain't never even smoked weed. And I started the topic out there. Well, how was you a recovering addict? My addictions were cars, money, women, right? And my addictions helped mold you because the people that looked up to me, you look up to them. So I gotta apologize to them for that.
Do they seem like they open to it? Do they receive that? I mean, you already know the type of generation that you was in when you were growing up. Now you know how the generation is with these young cats growing up. Do you feel like they would still be able to relate to you in a sense where you can talk to them and you can get through to them a little bit more than you know what I'm trying to say? Like just the correlation between the generations and how things were back then versus now. Is there more talking that needs to be done? Is it effective in your opinion and your experience? You can't save them all, but have you been able through your coaching and your mentoring and just being open and honest about your lifestyle and your past, have you been able to have some effect on them, you think, to make
I
a
think I
difference?
have, and here's the thing. What I've learned is to try not to take the job home. What I'm doing is planting a seed, and I got to give each young person the same good information, regardless of how they receive it. I have to give them all the same good information. Some get it right now, some get it later, and some don't get it. But I got to be comfortable enough with the information that I'm giving them to let them be like, okay, Joe looking out for us.
Okay.
And I try to be as upfront, as honest, and sincere as possible. And then I also try to live my life with integrity outside my job.
Which is important.
Right, because who can I be if I'm preaching nonviolence and they see me on the news fighting or I done shot somebody?
There's a lot of people that don't even know what integrity means. I
Uh,
didn't realize that as an adult. Like once, like people really just that word is that just goes underrated. You know what I mean? When you talk about just how you live your life outside of what you show people.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're supposed to live your life a certain kind of way even when nobody's watching. That's pretty much the gist of integrity. Like who you are is just who you are in front of or behind the cameras, behind the scenes. So, and a lot of people don't even know what that means. It's just another word that gets thrown around that people just don't really understand or take
Right,
it to heart.
right. And that came in a lot of different forms. I even had to adjust who I hung around.
You had to change your circle.
Right,
How was
because
that?
now, see, growing up, I only hung with one set of, well, no, really, I hung with a couple of different sets of dudes, but they all matched up to one neighborhood.
Okay.
And I don't want to be looked at as North Richmond Joe, especially when I'm working with kids from the South Side, kids from Central, kids from other cities. I want to be looked up as just Joe. So I can't always be in pictures with certain people or in videos with certain people. I love my neighborhood to death. Don't get it wrong. Um, that's who made me. That neighborhood made me who I am today, good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I gotta understand that if a person is full fledged and 100% with all the foolishness still, I just can't be somewhere hugged up with them.
Okay.
Like I got a cousin, and me and him hadn't seen each other. We saw each other at a party. We was hugged up one time. We was talking, right, chopping it up, and it was a sister, and he was dating the sister. Well, he was dating in the group, right, her partner or something like that. And she over there, she was from the other side of Richmond, and she was clowning. And we didn't know that she went live, right? So when she go live, she like, oh, she said, oh, North Richmond suckers, right? He said, oh, Southside set up B word, but he playing, right? But
Mm-hmm.
immediately I walk out the scene, right? Because I'm like, I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
But the next day, the video had got around. So they flagged down one of the cats that worked with me, and they were saying, I told you Joe was still with all the. I don't want to be looked up to. I don't want to be. That ain't my legacy.
Okay.
You know, I carved a legacy in Northridge. I want to carve a legacy within Richmond.
How did that? Do you have children?
Yes.
So how did that? How did your upbringing play a role in your parenting? Because you said previously that when you meet these young cats, that you start off by apologizing to them. Have you had to make those the same apologies to your children, or by the time you had them, were you a different type of man?
So I think my oldest, I think he got the best, but also the worst of me. I was in the house the longest with him.
Okay.
Um, he got to see what a father was. Well, they all did, except my youngest son. I'll go into that in a minute. But he also got to see. Cause my oldest son grew up extremely square, right? And I teeter tottered. I was going back and forth with my own life back then.
What you mean, teeter totter
I was
going back
still
and
in the
forth?
streets, but he saw me. He thought I sold cars. He
Okay.
thought I sold cars, and I had a job, so he just thought I went to work. He
Okay.
didn't know his daddy was a drug dealer, right? So fast forward to 2013. Even though I had a job, I had So still in the street. Sometimes God slaps you for things that He tell you to stop doing. So I ended up going to jail for a murder that I didn't do. So
Mm.
now all my skeletons is coming out the closet to my oldest son.
Mm.
People who you know looked at to me like a football. Cause I was coaching football then. People was telling my son he was still playing football. They was telling your dad's a murderer and stuff like that. He got kicked out of the private school he was going to.
Now you see stuff like that on TV, but that actually happened to your son
Right,
in
he
real
got
life.
kicked out of the private school he was going to, and that was all because I used to come to the PTA meetings and everything. I was
Oh,
really being
model
a parent,
citizen. You a
right?
model citizen.
But now when they find out that this dude's a drug dealer, or a killer, the school start to, push back from him. And as soon as he did one little small thing that all the other kids did, he got put out to school.
Mm.
So it's something, I had to deal with that.
So your behavior affected his livelihood,
Right, and
in
a
more
lot of
ways
us,
than one.
don't get that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because without the youngsters I work with, I don't even think half the time it's them. We got such bad parenting in our communities now that just, oh my God, it's pitiful. It's
Mm-hmm.
pitiful. But yeah, so I had to deal with that, man. And we went through some struggles. We went through times where we wasn't talking, and we had to put our shit back together. So.
And then what happened with the other sons? You said the youngest was a little different, but then
So
you
the
had a middle
youngest,
son.
I didn't raise him. He was born in Milwaukee. He lived in Milwaukee. He came out here to try to live with me when he was older, and we was bumping heads because he was grown and had his own set of, who he was, and that wasn't flying in my house.
Okay.
It's sort of like to this day, my nephews, and they all 30, and they don't cuss around me. They do who they do, who they are in the streets. But when they around their uncle, they know better. My
Respectful.
kids know better. Like a lot of people, to recently, my son 32. I just recently had my first drink with my son.
Mm. The youngest.
Nope.
Which one?
The oldest.
The oldest. Okay. And let's get them. You got the. How many you got? 3.
I got 3.
So you got to let us know which one. So the oldest you just recently had a drink.
I think last year.
Because you don't drink, right?
I drink.
Oh, you do drink.
I drink.
You don't smoke.
I don't smoke.
You got it. Okay, you don't smoke and you don't. Okay.
No, I don't smoke.
But
I don't
you
do any type of drug. I had my first drink at 27.
Okay. You was real focused on. So up until 27.
I'm gonna tell you, if I'd have grew up in any other neighborhood, I'd have probably been a square.
So you think North Richmond is the culprit?
It's the culprit, man.
Combination of everything.
That place was my blessing and my curse at the same time. It made us the men that we are today, and a lot of great people came from that neighborhood. But we saw so much toxicity that we fell into the middle of it, and then we didn't know that we were sick, so we thought that this was normal. Going to funerals is normal.
Now that's a sad
Firing
statement.
guns is normal. Things like going to a college graduation, that's abnormal at the time. We didn't, that wasn't something that we saw every day.
So y'all, when y'all was in high school, nobody thought about graduating high school and then going to college? College was never on the radar?
Man, listen, out of the cats I grew up with, a couple of us might have enrolled in CC, and that was probably to get the little stipend check, but I don't
financial
think, no,
aid.
as we got older, some of us went back, but the cats I really grew up with, that I could really call my brothers, college wasn't on our radar.
So I want to know if you know what the neighborhood is like now and how many of those cats is missing from the picture.
So in my age bracket,
yes,
right? Well, first, our neighborhood has been gentrified. You got to be able to speak Spanish to live in North Richmond now.
Okay,
almost.
so
it's a few houses still owned by black people, so it's different. But out of the cats that I grew up with, I can only know one that was killed from violence. They had some had to do with street shit in our age bracket.
Okay.
Now, no, I'm sorry. 3, and one of them wasn't too long ago.
Okay.
Right.
Because they were still in the life, or just
one was stabbed by a dispute in a different city. One was killed. He had moved to Vegas and came back, and he was killed on a fluke.
Okay.
And the other one, well, it was 2. I can't even think of the third one.
Okay.
And the rest of us, we either still around, or some of us are starting to get older. And one of them, I think the one that holds the glue to us, he just passed from an illness. Other than that, we around.
So the kids that you mentor now, are they throughout different parts of Richmond?
All around Richmond.
All around Richmond. So even though North Richmond for you back in your time was just kind of like a hub for how you grew up and what you was exposed to, now you mentor Richmond kids that's all over. So that means there's a bunch of little North Richmonds. Let's just say that I'm from Richmond too, so we already know how the sets change, but it's all over the place. So you tap into the South Side, you tap into like Central, you tap into like all those areas, and you deal with kids. Are you driving around? Are you guys having meetings, a collective? Like, how do you reach out to these youngsters? How do you approach them? How do you?
So the way our office is set up, each one of us are supposed to be from a different neighborhood in Richmond,
Okay.
and we're supposed to be somebody that has either know a lot of folks or have some pull in their neighborhood. So we know what happens in the streets before most police do, and we don't know to tell. We know to just to try to get in between the next shooting. We don't care who did what. Our thing is to keep them from killing each other. And see, people get things misconstrued because we drive around in city exempt cars. So people always, one thing I've learned is a lie spreads faster than the truth.
Right.
So if somebody say, "Oh man, them niggas work for the police because we work for the city," that lie.
They work for the city, not the police.
That lie That lie goes faster than oh man, they just trying to help some kids. Because it's funny that rumor was out there that said we work for the police, but one of the cats that was spreading, his name was all over paperwork for snitching.
Wow.
And our name has never been in paperwork.
So do you find the kids back when you was growing up versus the kids now, who you think are worse? Who's scarier? Are you scared of these young dudes out here right now? Do you think they mindset is just, do you think that at least when y'all was doing what y'all was doing back in the day, y'all had a little bit of reasoning, a little bit more something to it, where these kids is just out there? Or do you think y'all was the worst and these kids are, kind of like a watered down version? Which one would
I don't
you say?
think they watered down because I think each generation tries to outdo the last generation. I do. I think in my generation, I think it was more calculated. We didn't just go through neighborhoods and shoot everybody in the neighborhood. It was certain people that we wanted to get on or they wanted to get on us. Mm-hmm. Like a cat could have rolled through North Richmond and saw 15 elders, 30 other dudes at the bus stop and not did nothing. But if he'd have saw one of us, he was finna let the gun go to him. He was out of bullets.
Empty the clip.
Yeah. But we did that type of stuff. We gave these things called passes. I remember pulling up on somebody back in the day and they had their son in the car with them. We let that shit go. We deal with this another day. Now,
ain't no passes.
Ain't no pass. Ain't. Yeah.
So you say they worse then?
I'm not gonna say worse. I'm just gonna say that they're misguided. Because they misguided. When I say misguided, we created an animal. When I say we, older cats created an animal, but we didn't show them how to handle what we wanted them to do. You got certain cats that still push the line at 50 and 60. I hate all them niggas over there. Y'all should do something to them suckers. Instead of telling them, man, let that go, bro.
This niggas are still out there?
It's still cats in their 40s, all that.
It's men out there?
Yeah, it's still cats out there with all that foolishness, man.
Ridiculous.
Cats will see me somewhere at a bar or something and be, man, Joe, you my dude. As soon as you turn around, fuck that sucker.
They think you're a sucker now.
It depends, man.
How you feel about that?
I don't, man. I know who I am as a person. I know what I want to do in life. And I know what I want my legacy to be.
So do you think the old Joe, are you at a safe space where can't nobody pull the old Joe out of you? Because you know how we are in our cores, how we are, like, as much as we can all shift change, right? One of the things about the hood is a lot of us grow up in the hood. We have these personalities and these survival skills, but some of us do go to college and some of us do get these professional careers where we know how to switch, right? We know how to be professional and we know how to, in the environment, however it calls for, but sometimes it's hard to maintain because it only takes one person to kind of pull you back out of character and just bring you back to that old version of you, right? We're never too far away from who we are at the core. So do you think that you're in a safe space now? Like you say, there's men 50 or some years old that's still with the foolishness, but do you think that you're at a safe space for you where we'll never see the old Joe again?
I'll never say that.
You'll never say that?
No, I'll never say that. I'll say that it would take a lot to pull it out of me.
Okay.
And then a lot of people don't even know who the old Joe was because I wasn't the cat that was always the front line when something happened in my neighborhood. Nobody thought of me. right? They would think of certain names, and those names were always the names. Oh man, he would it. But you know, but it was always a card cast that was doing something that had nothing to do but do what they was gonna do and go home and be quiet about it. It was loud cats and cats that was just handling their
You
business.
sounding like a little Kaiser Sose.
Nah, it wasn't no Kaiser Sose. It was like,
Well,
see,
yeah.
I was always taught that the cat that flew under the radar survived.
Right,
That's even with hustling.
right.
I have a car issue, and I still got a car issue. You know, that I buy a car. I love cars, man. And back then, I would buy cars, but I wouldn't just candy paint them and, you know, the old schools maybe. But you know, like go buy a vet and put some big wheels on a vet and candy paint the vet. I just have a vet. You know what I mean?
Was that your favorite car? What was the favorite car you had back then?
Out of every car I had, my vet was probably one of my favorites.
Your vet? Pay cash for it?
Did.
How was that feeling?
What's funny is,
I know what it's like to just see something you want to go pay cash for. It was a feeling I never forgot, and I always wanted to be able to have that feeling where I could just see something I want and go grab it.
it felt cool, but then I learned later in life that I could have the same car and pay notes. So, man,
It's
you know, I
different,
learned how to
though.
pay notes, though. You know, and notes was cool because I didn't understand credit. And as you get older, you start understanding credit. Like, now I'm gonna put this 5,000 down and pay these notes.
Oh,
I
wow.
need the points to go up. I need
had-
that FICA to go up.
No, I had my little, I had a 69, I miss her too. I had a 69, what did I have?
A Mustang.
Was it my Mustang?
I think it was a Mustang.
Oh man, I love them. I get emotional. But listen, we are going to wrap up this part one with Joe. Thank you for tuning in to She Said We Said, a special episode. Kat, we miss you. I hope you are having fun. She will be back, but we're gonna come back with part two with Mr. Joe McCoy. She Said We Said podcast. Take us out, Rue.